ATA for exposing my mom at her birthday party? Hi Reddit. Buckle up, because this one's messy. I honestly don't even know if I'm writing this to get validation, or if I just need to unload the years of frustration that have been building up. Either way, this is about my mom, Linda, her 50th birthday party, and the absolute circus she turned it into. I'm 24F, and I've always had, let's just say, a complicated relationship with my mom. Complicated in the way that living with her often felt like a full-time job, walking on eggshells, keeping her happy, managing her moods, and never being allowed to forget that her image was more important than my feelings. My mom, Linda, has always been obsessed with appearances. Not just in the regular, likes to dress nice way, but in the every single part of her life has to look like a curated Instagram feed kind of way. Designer clothes, fancy dinners, a house that always had to look like a magazine spread, even if we were broke underneath it all. She loved being the perfect hostess. People fawned over her ability to throw elegant parties with color-coordinated napkins, signature cocktails, and flower arrangements that probably cost more than my monthly rent. And for as long as I can remember, I was a prop in all of this. The well-dressed daughter, the polite child who was told exactly how to behave, what to say, what to wear, because if I slipped up, if I acted too shy or stumbled over my words, she'd scold me later. And the worst part? She constantly reminded me that I was the reason she lost her body. I grew up hearing things like, if it wasn't for you, I'd still have a model's figure. Or, you stretched me out and ruined me. Imagine being a little kid and having your own mom treat your very existence like a crime against her beauty. By the time I was a teenager, I stopped even trying to impress her. I wore thrifted clothes. I dyed my hair purple for a year just because I knew it annoyed her, and I started eating dinner in my room to avoid her constant critiques. But she always had a trump card, comparison. Because when I was 16, my dad remarried. And his new wife, aka my stepmom, was only 8 years older than me. Yep, you read that right. My stepmom, Claire, is 32 now. She and I could pass for sisters, and sometimes people even think I'm older. And my mom never misses a chance to remind me. It's always, look at Claire, she takes care of herself. She's toned, she's put together. Why can't you be more like her? Never mind the fact that Claire is literally married to my dad and has an entirely different lifestyle. No, in my mom's world, Claire is the gold standard, and I'm the failure. Fast forward to this year. My mom was turning 50, and of course, she wasn't going to let it pass quietly. She threw herself a massive birthday bash. I'm talking 200 guests, live band, open bar, catering staff, ice sculptures, even a chocolate fountain. She rented out this fancy event space that looked like something straight out of a wedding magazine. And the way she talked about it, you'd think it was the royal coronation. For months leading up to it, she was planning outfits, getting Botox touch-ups, doing crash diets. She'd call me to complain about the horrors of aging, and then immediately pivot into bragging about how she was going to look better than half the 20-year-olds there. Now here's where things really start to spiral. A week before the party, she calls me and says, "Sweetheart, I need you to give a speech. It would make me look good if my daughter honored me in front of everyone. Notice the wording, make her look good. Not because she wanted to hear something heartfelt from me. Not because she thought it would be meaningful. No, it was about optics." I literally said, "Mom, I don't even know what I'd say." And she goes, "Just talk about how fabulous I am. You're a writer, aren't you? Use your skills for something useful." For context, I do some freelance writing and content creation, and she's always belittled it, calls it my little hobby. But now suddenly, she wanted those skills to make her the star of her own show. I tried to get out of it. I told her public speaking makes me nervous, that I didn't want to be the center of attention, that maybe she could ask one of her friends. But she guilt-tripped me hard. "Do you want to humiliate me in front of my friends? Everyone's expecting you to speak. People will think it's weird if you don't." She even brought up Claire. I bet if she were my daughter, she'd jump at the chance to honor me. That one stung. Because Claire is sweet, and I actually like her, but my mom weaponizes her existence against me every chance she gets. So I caved. I said fine, I'd do it. But deep down, I knew this was a disaster waiting to happen. The night finally came. I showed up in a simple black dress, nothing flashy, but nice enough that I wouldn't embarrass her. My mom, of course, was decked out in a sparkly gown that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She had her hair professionally styled, a full face of glam makeup, and she was absolutely basking in the attention. She worked the room like a politician, air-kissing everyone, laughing too loudly, making sure the photographers, yes, she hired photographers, got her good angles. When I walked in, she immediately pulled me aside. "Don't forget, you're speaking after dinner. Keep it short, keep it sweet, and make me sound good." I nodded, but my stomach was in knots. Dinner was extravagant: steak, lobster, multiple courses. The wine was flowing, the music was perfect, and my mom looked like she was having the time of her life. And then, the moment came. The band stopped playing, the lights dimmed slightly, and the MC announced, "Now, Linda's daughter would like to say a few words." Every single pair of eyes in that room turned to me. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. I stood up, clutching the little note cards I had scribbled some ideas on. The thing about my mom is that she thrives on attention the way most people thrive on oxygen. She doesn't just like compliments, she lives for them. They fuel her. And at her 50th birthday bash, she was practically overdosing. Everywhere I looked, people were gushing over her. "Linda, you look incredible. 50? You could pass for 35. What's your secret? You're glowing. Honestly, you're the kind of woman we all aspire to be." It was endless. Compliment after compliment, delivered with glasses of champagne clinking and fake laughter echoing through the room. And my mom? She ate it up like candy. She did that thing she always does, pressing her hand dramatically to her chest like she's just so humbled, while simultaneously smirking in a way that said, "Of course I look this good. I'm Linda." And the thing is, she did look good. I'll give her that. The gown sparkled under the chandelier lights. Her hair had more volume than I've ever seen, and her skin practically glowed from whatever treatments she'd had done. She wasn't just the star of the party, she was the entire solar system. But standing there, watching everyone orbit her, I couldn't help feeling invisible. Like I always have. Just before my speech, as the MC was preparing to bring everyone's attention to the stage, my mom pulled me aside. She leaned down, smiling sweetly for the cameras nearby, but her words were sharp enough to cut. "Keep it short. Don't say anything embarrassing. And remember, this is MY night, not yours." That's done. I could feel my throat tighten, my stomach twist. Because she wasn't just reminding me, it felt like she was warning me. Like I was some unruly child who couldn't be trusted not to ruin her carefully constructed image. And here's the kicker, I knew something. Something she's been hiding for years. Something that could shatter this perfect little world she's built around herself. I had never planned to say anything. Honestly, I never wanted to. But the way she looked at me like I was just another accessory to her outfit made the thought creep into my head for the very first time. What if I told the truth? So there I was, waiting for my turn, clutching my note cards, trying to keep my hands from shaking. People were still giving speeches, friends, coworkers, a couple of cousins. All of them full of glowing praise. Linda is the best friend anyone could ask for. Linda is the life of every party. Linda has a heart of gold. Each one made her beam brighter. And then it happened. One of her friends, already tipsy from the open bar, grabbed the microphone and slurred, "Linda, you're the kind of mom every girl dreams of having." The room erupted in laughter and applause. My mom tilted her head back and smirked like a queen accepting her crown. And I snapped. Something inside me cracked wide open. All the years of being told I ruined her body. All the times she compared me to Claire. All the moments she reminded me that I was never good enough, never pretty enough, never perfect enough for her world. And now this, people praising her as the dream mom. I couldn't do it anymore. When the MC finally called me up, I walked to the front of the room, my heels clicking against the polished floor, my palms sweating so hard I thought the note cards might disintegrate. I looked out at the sea of faces, 200 guests, all staring at me with polite expectation. And then I looked at my mom, sitting front and center, eyes gleaming, waiting for me to make her look good. And instead of reading what I'd written, I put the cards down. "Hi, everyone," I started, my voice shaking slightly. "For those of you who don't know me, I'm Linda's daughter." There was a ripple of polite chuckles, a couple of nods. My mom gave me her rehearsed smile, the one that said, "Keep going, darling, but don't screw this up." And I took a deep breath. You've all been saying tonight that my mom is glamorous, that she's youthful, that she's the kind of mom every girl dreams of having. The crowd laughed again. My mom smirked even wider. And then I added, "But I think sometimes what people see on the outside doesn't always match what happens behind closed doors." The room went dead silent. I swear you could hear a pin drop. My mom's smile faltered, just slightly. Her eyes narrowed, and I could practically feel her willing me to stop. But once I started, I couldn't. Growing up, my mom taught me a lot. She taught me how to smile even when I wasn't happy. She taught me how to dress so other people would approve. She taught me how to keep secrets. And she taught me that appearances are everything. A murmur rippled through the crowd. I saw her friends exchange nervous glances. My mom's hand gripped the edge of her chair, her knuckles turning white. I could have stopped there. I could have backpedaled, turned it into some sappy Hallmark ending about how I still loved her anyway. That's what she expected. But instead, I looked straight at her and said, "And you know what? I'm tired of keeping secrets." I didn't say it yet. I didn't drop the actual bombshell. But I saw the panic flash across her face. She knew exactly what secret I was talking about. And that tiny flicker of fear in her eyes, it was intoxicating. For once, the power shifted. For once, she wasn't the one in control. The audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The photographers stopped snapping. Even the band members, who had been packing up quietly in the corner, froze to watch. All eyes were on me, and I had a choice. Do I keep going and burn everything down? Or do I let her keep her little empire intact? I looked at her. She was smiling again, but it wasn't the confident smirk from before. It was tight, strained, like she was begging me silently to behave. The funny thing about public speaking is that the silence always feels louder than the words. When I stood there, champagne glass in hand, I could feel the weight of 200 pairs of eyes pressing into me. The chandeliers glittered above. The air smelled faintly of champagne and lobster, and my mom's glittery gown sparkled as she perched on the edge of her seat, waiting to be worshipped. I started nice, like I was supposed to. "Happy 50th, Mom," I said, forcing a smile. "You look amazing tonight." Polite applause followed. She beamed, the photographers clicked, and for a split second, everything seemed fine. Then I paused, and I said the words that changed everything. "I just hope everyone here realizes appearances can be deceiving." A murmur spread through the room. People tilted their heads, confused. I took a deep breath, because while Mom is smiling for you all, she's been secretly using my college fund to pay for her plastic surgeries. Gasps, actual gasps, rippled across the room like a wave. Champagne glasses froze midair. Someone coughed loudly. And my mom, Linda, the queen of composure, the woman who could fake a smile in any situation, froze. Her lips parted slightly, her eyes widened, and then her face went stiff, like a porcelain doll about to crack. I'll never forget the sound that followed. It wasn't just silence, it was silence plus the whispers. People leaning into each other, hissing. Did she say plastic surgery? Her daughter's college fund? Wait, is that true? One of my mom's friends, the same one who had drunkenly called her the dream mom, nearly choked on her drink. Even the band members, who had been halfway out the door, stopped and stared. And me? My hands were trembling so badly that champagne sloshed over the rim of my glass. But I kept going. "Sweetheart," my mom said, her voice strained, but loud enough for the microphone to catch. "That's a very funny joke." She laughed. A brittle, glass-shattering laugh that didn't reach her eyes. Always the comedian. But no one laughed with her. Not a single soul. I raised my eyebrow. Is it though? Funny? Because it stopped being funny the day I found out I'd been accepted into my dream school and my tuition money had mysteriously vanished. Another gasp. Someone muttered, "Oh my God." My mom's hands clenched around the armrests of her chair. She looked like she was about to lunge at me, but she was trapped. Every camera, every guest, every eye locked onto her. "You've all been telling my mom tonight how youthful she looks," I continued, my voice steadier now. "Well, here's the secret. Youth costs money. Money that wasn't hers to spend. Money she promised me for college." I could hear the whispers growing louder now. Botox, tummy tuck, implants, facelift. Each word ricocheted through the crowd like bullets. "Do you know what it feels like," I asked the room, "to get an acceptance letter to a school you've dreamed of for years, only to realize your mom stole your chance at a future so she could look good in cocktail dresses?" My voice cracked, but I didn't stop. She always told me appearances were everything, and I guess now you all know the price of that. My mom shot to her feet so fast her chair toppled backward. "That is not true," she shrieked. Her voice echoed, raw and desperate, no longer polished. "She's exaggerating. She's lying." But her voice wavered, and that was all it took. Because in that moment, I realized the truth wasn't just mine anymore. It was written all over her face. The panic, the fury, the desperation, it screamed guilt. People didn't know where to look. Some stared at me with wide eyes, others at my mom with horror. A few of her so-called friends had already pulled out their phones, thumbs flying across screens. No doubt, the gossip mill was already churning. One of my aunts whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, so that's how she's been affording all those procedures. Another guest muttered, "I always wondered how she managed all this." The whispers grew louder, the murmurs swelling until it felt like the whole room was buzzing. And my mom? She was crumbling before my eyes. "You ungrateful brat," she screamed at me, her perfectly applied lipstick trembling with every word. "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? By humiliating me on my birthday." Her voice cracked. She was no longer Linda, the glamorous queen of the night. She was just a woman caught in her own lies. And for once, nobody rushed to comfort her. Nobody swooped in to smooth things over. I looked at her, at the stunned faces around the room, and said, quietly but firmly, "I didn't humiliate you, Mom. You did that to yourself." Then I set down the microphone, placed my half-empty champagne glass on the nearest table, and walked away. Behind me, the room erupted. Some guests tried to console my mom, others avoided her completely. A few actually applauded me, though it was hesitant, scattered. And as I pushed open the doors to leave, I could still hear her voice shrieking my name, begging me to come back, promising it wasn't true, threatening me in the same breath. But I didn't stop. For the first time in my life, I had finally taken the power back. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. Because once you rip the mask off someone like my mom, they don't just quietly put it back on. They come for you. And I had no idea just how ugly her revenge was about to get. The moment the words left my mouth, I thought the room couldn't get any quieter. But I was wrong. Because when my mom's best friends gasped, when my stepmom literally spit her drink across the tablecloth, and when my dad went pale like he'd seen a ghost, suddenly, the silence wasn't just heavy. It was suffocating. People didn't even bother whispering discreetly anymore. Wait, didn't she brag about paying for her daughter's degree? She said she was so proud of setting aside money for college. Oh my God, $60,000. I heard the words like daggers thrown across the room. My mom's empire wasn't just cracking, it was collapsing in real time, under the weight of every lie she'd ever told. My mom stood, her chair screeching backward across the polished floor. She looked like a woman possessed, glittering gown and all. "You liar," she shrieked, pointing a trembling, manicured finger at me. "You ungrateful little brat. After everything I've sacrificed, this is how you repay me." Her voice was raw, not the polished hostess tone she always used. It was jagged, ugly, desperate. "You're jealous. That's all this is," she screamed. "Jealous of me. Jealous of Claire. You've always been bitter, always trying to drag me down." The crowd recoiled. Her friends, who once worshipped her, now looked at her like she was a stranger. And then, out of nowhere, my dad spoke. At first it was quiet, almost too quiet. She's not lying. Every head turned. My dad's face was pale, his jaw tight, but his voice carried through the stunned silence. I found out weeks ago. Linda drained the account we set aside for her tuition. $60,000. Gone. Liposuction. Botox. A so-called wellness retreat in Bali. Another collective gasp swept through the room. Cameras clicked. Phones raised higher. This wasn't just gossip anymore, it was evidence. Proof. My stepmom, Claire, covered her mouth with her hand, shaking her head in disbelief. Linda, how could you? She whispered, but it was loud enough to carry. The room descended into chaos. Some guests scrambled for the exits, eager to escape the scene. Others huddled together in shocked clusters, whispering furiously. A few of my mom's so-called best friends had their phones held high, recording the entire meltdown. I knew those videos would hit social media before the night was even over. The glamorous Linda, queen of appearances, exposed in 4K. My mom's screams grew louder, more unhinged. "You traitor," she howled at my dad. "You're just trying to make me look bad in front of everyone. You never supported me, never loved me, and now you're teaming up with them against me." She flung her champagne glass, and it shattered against the wall, spraying shards and liquid across the floor. People gasped and ducked. Her friends, at least, the ones still brave enough to stay, were no longer on her side. "I can't believe this," one woman muttered, shaking her head. "She lied to all of us," another added. $60,000 for vanity? Every judgmental word landed like a stone, piling onto the wreckage of her reputation. My mom, who had lived her entire life for admiration, was now drowning in disgust. For years, my dad had let her control the narrative. He'd been quiet, detached, almost cowardly when it came to confronting her. But tonight, something in him snapped too. "You humiliated yourself, Linda," he said firmly, his voice cutting through her screams. "Not her. Not me. You." His words hit harder than mine ever could, because for once, the man she'd always dismissed as weak was standing tall, and he wasn't protecting her anymore. Guests began leaving in waves. High heels clicking across the floor, muttered excuses about early mornings and needing to get home. But I knew the truth. Nobody wanted to be associated with the fallout. By the time half the room had cleared, the perfect party looked like a battlefield. Abandoned champagne flutes littered the tables, napkins lay crumpled on the floor, and the band quietly slipped out the side door without playing another note. My mom stood in the middle of it all, glittering and furious, screaming into the void as the audience she lived for vanished before her eyes. One of her friends, a woman she'd bragged about vacationing with in Italy, looked at her with pure disgust and said, "You know, Linda, I think your daughter's braver than you've ever been." And then she walked out too. My mom's face twisted into something I can only describe as monstrous. She looked at me, eyes blazing, and hissed, "You will regret this." Her voice was low, guttural, filled with venom. And in that moment, I knew she meant it. By the time I left, the grand ballroom that had once been packed with adoring guests was nearly empty. Just my mom, pacing and muttering, her makeup streaking down her face, her tiara of confidence shattered. My dad walked me out. His hands shook as he lit a cigarette, something I hadn't seen him do in years. "I should have told you sooner," he admitted, his voice hoarse. "I thought I could fix it, but she's been spiraling for a long time." Claire touched my shoulder gently. "You were brave," she said softly. "Painful, but brave." And as I climbed into the Uber that night, my phone already buzzing with notifications from people who had seen the videos spreading like wildfire, I realized something chilling. That wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning of my mom's revenge. I thought the chaos ended when I walked out of that ballroom, but I was wrong. If anything, the real storm hit the next day. I woke up to my phone buzzing nonstop. Notifications stacked on top of each other. Texts from relatives, DMs from friends, missed calls from unknown numbers. And then the videos. Clips from the party were already circulating on Facebook and TikTok. There I was, holding a champagne glass, exposing my mom's secret in front of 200 guests. There she was, screaming like a... "She's crossed the line," he said, jaw clenched. Draining the college fund was bad enough. But identity theft? This is criminal. My stepmom Claire immediately pulled up a list of lawyers. "You're not alone," she promised. "We're going to help you fight this." And for once, I actually believed her. But of course, my extended family had other opinions. My aunt called me and said, "How could you do that to your mother? You embarrassed her in front of everyone." Another relative texted, "Air your grievances in private, not in public. You ruined her 50th. Even my grandmother, who knows firsthand how vain my mom can be, shook her head and said, "She shouldn't have done what she did, but you didn't need to humiliate her." Families keep things behind closed doors. Behind closed doors. The phrase I'd heard my entire life. But you know what? Behind closed doors is how abusers thrive. Behind closed doors is how my mom thought she could keep stealing, keep lying, keep manipulating without consequence. I wasn't going to be her scapegoat anymore. Meanwhile, my mom went full PR mode. She called relatives crying, claiming I ruined her life. She told anyone who would listen that I was an ungrateful, jealous daughter who hated seeing her mom happy. She painted me as the villain who plotted to humiliate her on the most important night of her life. And some people bought it. They always do, because she's good at playing victim when it suits her. But the videos? The evidence? The fact that my dad openly confirmed it? Those things don't lie. With my dad and stepmom's help, I started consulting a lawyer. We're exploring charges for identity theft and fraud. At the very least, I need to repair my credit score and prevent her from doing this again. It feels surreal. I never thought I'd be in a position where I'd have to take legal action against my own mother. But here we are. And the scariest part? She's doubling down. She left me a voicemail saying, "If you take me to court, I'll make sure you regret it for the rest of your life." Empty threat or not, it chilled me to my core. So here I am, sitting in the wreckage of my mom's empire. Her friendships? Shattered. Her reputation? Tarnished. Her family relationships? Hanging by a thread. And me? I'm left wondering if I went too far. Because yes, she deserved to be exposed. Yes, she stole from me, lied to me, and sabotaged my future. But part of me can't shake the guilt. That I didn't just confront her privately. That I did it in front of 200 people. That I turned her own birthday party into the stage for her downfall. So now, I ask you, Reddit, am I the asshole for exposing my mom in front of everyone? Or was it the only way to finally stop her from hiding behind appearances?